Magandang araw, Malacanang Press Corps. Ngayon ay makakasama na po natin si Press Secretary Trixie Cruz-Angeles at Finance Secretary Benjamin Chocno. Secretary Angeles, the floor is yours.
Magandang hapon. I-announce lang po natin Proclamation number 2, declaring Saturday, the 9th of July, a regular holiday throughout the country in observance of Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of the Sacrifice. Okay, this is issued for the President by the Executive Secretary. To reiterate, another batch of newly appointed officials had taken their oath before the President yesterday. To reiterate, Secretary Amina Pangandaman, Secretary of Budget and Management, President and General Manager of GSIS, Jose Arnulfo Veloso, Chairperson and Chief Executive of the Film Development Council, Tirso Cruz III, Chairperson of Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, Juni Kua, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Philippines to the United Nations, Antonio Manuel Lagdameo, COO, Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority, Mark Lapid, Deputy Commissioner for Operations, Bureau of Internal Revenue, Lomio Lumagi, Jr., Board Member, Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, Juan Levilla, Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, Administrator of the Southern Philippines Development Authority, Abdul Ghani Salapudin, and Presidential Security Group Commander and Senior Military Assistant, Ramon Sagala. Some of you had inquired about the topics that were discussed at yesterday's cabinet meeting. The DOF discussed the medium-term fiscal framework, some details of which the Secretary can clarify for you today. Under the Department of Agriculture, the President discussed ensuring the country's food security and reconstructing the value chain, starting with research and development to provide farmers with the latest technology. The DOTR discussed providing support to the transportation sector and ensuring sustainability through the Libreng Sakay program. They discussed fuel subsidy program and the service contracting program. The DepEd discussed measures to ensure the safe reopening of face-to-face classes, and the DICT discussed the Philippine digitalization situation, and they addressed digital inequalities and low digital competencies. So the details of which should be discussed by the cabinet members themselves. They will make their own releases or will address you directly at a later date. So we just discussed with you the topics so you're aware of what happened at the cabinet meeting yesterday. Now, in relation to the President's remarks and his manifestations before the media right after the cabinet meeting, we have Secretary Ben Chocno of the Department of Finance to expound and to clarify some matters that the President had discussed yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of Finance.
Good afternoon. So let me begin by saying that the President's disbelief at the 6.1% June 2022 inflation rate figure was misunderstood. Okay? He was referring to it as a full year figure when in fact the year to date, meaning January to June, average inflation rate is actually 4.4%. Okay, so that's what he was in mind. Okay, 4.4%. In practice, the BSP projects the monthly inflation rate a few days before the official announcement. The inflation rate of 6.1% for June 2022 is within the BSP's forecast range of 5.7 to 6.5% for the month. And from January to June 2022, as I earlier mentioned, the average inflation rate of 4.4% is still within the Development Budget Coordination Committee's target of 3.7 to 4.7% for the year as of May 24th, 2022. The uptick in the June 2022 inflation rate was contributed by the following: operation of personal transport equipment, meaning the use of cars, etc., electricity, gas, and other fuels, and meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals. Now, the distribution of the first tranche of fuel subsidies worth 6,500 pesos for public utility vehicle operators and drivers is expected to be completed in the first week of July. This is the Duterte subsidy scheme, the 6,500. Now, considering that oil prices are expected to remain elevated in the near term, the government will expedite the release of the second tranche of subsidies for the transport sector. In other words, President Marcos will continue the fuel subsidy that was put in place by the former President Duterte. This will be funded from the windfall tax from fuel oil. The President was correct in saying that the current high inflation experience is global. Among our peers, Indonesia's overall inflation climbed to 4.4% in June from 3.6% in May. Meanwhile, Thailand's inflation rate increased to 7.7% in June from 7.1% in May. Inflation in the Eurozone, which includes Germany, Italy, Spain, Italy, etc., stood at 8.6% in June, the highest in 11 years. And meanwhile, in the U.S., inflation rate reached a 40-year high of 8.6%. Rest assured, the recent acceleration of inflation will be arrested by the government through addressing constraints in the food, energy, and transportation and logistics sectors. Thank you. I'm now ready to answer your questions.
Thank you, Secretary Drocno. Ang una pong magtatanong ay si Sam Medinilla ng Business Mirror. Ang tanong po niya, what measures will the government be implementing to curb inflation, which has already hit 6.1% in June? What kind of relief will the government provide to cushion the impact of rising consumer prices?
So as I said, inflation is driven mainly by the elevated world price of oil. Okay? It affected the whole world. Okay? Now, the measure that we will do is we will continue the grant of the fuel subsidy to the affected parties, right? Like the drivers, the farmers, and the fisher folks. Okay? The other measure is that we will continue the importation of products which are in short supply, okay? As has been done before. And of course, we will try to improve the transportation and logistics sectors.
Another question, sir, from Sam Medinilla. Given the latest inflation data, what are the new inflation and GDP growth rate projections of the government for this year?
To be accurate, the inflation targets or forecasts are done by the DSP, not by the national government. And we estimate that inflation will remain elevated for the next few months, so that the annual average inflation for this year will be in the neighborhood of 5%. It will be down to 4.2% next year. That's the average inflation, and it will be back to the range, our target range of 2.2 to 4%. It will be back to 3.3% by 2024. Okay, this is a problem faced by many countries. You cannot cut inflation overnight. It has to be gradual, And so that's the forecast of the BSP. Okay.
Thank you.
So it's 5, 4.2, and 3.3. Okay.
Thank you, Secretary. Next, from Neil Mercado of Inquirer.net. His question po ay, how much of a concern is limited fiscal space?
When you talk of fiscal space, you talk of the size of the deficit, okay? Size of the deficit. I think we still have a lot of fiscal space because we are confident that our revenues will pick up. In fact, yesterday we submitted what is called the medium-term fiscal consolidation framework. Okay? Medium-term fiscal framework. That is from 2023 to 2028. That's the 6-year term of the president. This is presented for the first time. Okay, so we want to show the world that we are conscious of having a sound fiscal management. So among the targets in that framework are the following. We expect the economy to grow by 6.5 to 7.5 this year. Okay? In fact, this is going to be the highest, the consensus is this will be the highest growth rate among all ASEAN +3 countries this year and next year. Okay? That's the consensus. When I say ASEAN +3, that +3 means Japan, South Korea, and China, okay? So the Philippines is expected to have the highest growth rate for the next 2 years. Okay? And then it will be followed by a growth rate of 6.5 to 8% from year 2023 to year 2028. Now, we're not only concerned with growth per se, we're also concerned with reducing poverty. Okay? So our target is that by the end of President Marcos's term, poverty incidence will be down to single digit, 9%. Okay? If I remember right, it started at around 25% during the Duterte's first year in office. But we were almost down to around 18, 17%. Then the pandemic hit us. Okay? So that there's a slight backsliding, but our target under this framework is that poverty rate will be down to 9% by 2028. Our target on the national government deficit to GDP ratio will be 3% starting 2026, 27, 28. Now, on the debt, national debt, and you keep harping on this, 60%, that's the target. It will be down to 60% by 2025. Okay? Right now, it's around 63%. So it will be slowly tapering off to 60% by 2025. And that on the Build program, we are committed to spend some 5 to 6% of GDP for infrastructure annually between 2023 to 2028. Okay? As you know, during the last 50 years before Duterte, the spending on infrastructure was only less than 2%. Okay? And finally, we want to achieve what is called an upper middle income status. So that means that we are shooting for a $4,046 per capita income for Filipinos by the end of the president's term. So those are the main target of this medium-term fiscal framework. I cannot talk in more details because this is supposed to be the president's, he will present this during his SONA, and there he will spell out the specifics on this. Okay?
Secretary, maybe it's the same, pero another question from Neil Mercado. When do you plan to release your fiscal consolidation plan?
Well, we have discussed it yesterday in the cabinet, and it was approved. This framework, as I said, will set the tone or will be our, say, game plan for the next 6 years. And I said this is the first time that this government or any government of the Philippines has presented such a game plan. Okay, so we're not only thinking of a 1-year plan, but it's a 6-year plan on the budget. And the desire is to reduce the deficit, which ballooned during the pandemic to around 9%, deficit to GDP ratio to around 3% by 2025 or 2026.
Okay, Secretary, ang susunod pong magtatanong ay si Let Narciso ng DZRH. Ang tanong po niya, Secretary, sinabi ni PBBM na hahanapan ng pondo para maipagpatuloy ang subsidy sa transport sector. Mayroon na po bang tinitingnan o pinag-aaralan ng gobyerno kung saan maaaring kumuha ng dagdag pondo para magamit dito?
Meron ng pagkukunan. Yung sinabi ko kanina, yung windfall tax. Kasi because nakaset naman yung specific tax on petroleum products, since tumaas yung presyo ng gasolina in the world market, tapos nag-depreciate ng konti yung peso, so the peso value of our imports has increased, so magkakaroon tayo ng additional revenue as a result of that. No? Doon natin kukunin yon. Yung pagtaas ng presyo ng gasolina, ibabalik natin sa taong bayan in the form of targeted subsidy. Hindi lahat makakakuha, but yung mga mas apektado, sila makakakuha nito. Okay.
Secretary, may tentative na raw po kaya kung magkano ito?
Hindi, papatuloy lang natin yung 6,500 kasi mag-expire na yun itong June. So yung sinabi nila, this will be completed by the first week of July. Yung pa yung kay President Duterte. So we will continue. Okay?
Okay, ang susunod pong magtatanong ay si Rex Lumisio ng CNN Philippines.
Hi, Sec. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Clarify ko lang, no? So, diba tinigil yung libreng sakay sa MRT? Was it too much ba for government coffers to subsidize MRT free rides?
Hindi ko alam na tinigil na ba yan?
Yes, according...
Since when? Since when?
July 1.
July 1. Okay. Hindi ko alam kung magkano nawala dun sa atin, but I know that we have rehabilitated MRT. As you know, on schedule na siya ngayon, di ba? Hindi na sisira, on schedule. And then, siguro dapat naman magbayad na yung taong bayan dun. But meron siyang pinaplano ngayon na if you're a student, libre na ata yung, kaya lang LRT2 ata yun, ano? But maybe we might consider it also for all the mass transit system. I don't have the estimate right now. Pero malaking improvement na yung MRT, I know. Nakikita ko talagang regular na yung pagdating na. Tsaka mas madami na sangkaro ngayon, di ba? Hindi na siya nasisira. Okay?
Okay, salamat Secretary Jokno. At ngayon naman po mga katanungan para kay Secretary Angeles, Maricel Halili ng TV5.
Okay, sa'yo. Tapos na ako?
Hello, sir. Kailat Yanso of Business World here, sir. Sir, my question will be, sir, will the DOF push for the completion of the comprehensive tax reform program? Is a taxation of profitable digital transactions outside the tax net among the priorities of the new admin? And what sectors will benefit the most from the new fiscal plan, sir?
Yung tax on digital services, I think it's only fair na dapat itatax natin yon, hindi ba? Kasi kung if you're going to buy it from the regular stores, nagtatax ka, bakit naman pagka digital hindi ka magtatax, no? Di ba? I think in the sense of fairness, dapat magkaroon ng tax. Especially, medyo, if you really think about it, yung mga nakakaangat ang sila nakakakuha ng mga ganyan, digital payment. So on the basis of fairness, I think they should be taxed. No? Now, on the remaining parts of the comprehensive tax reform program na pinush ng Duterte administration, there are 2 remaining packages. I think ang estimate noon is that it's supposed to be revenue neutral. No? Walang additional revenues na makukuha doon. But it will simplify a lot the tax system. So we will push for that. And then we expect that to be approved before the end of the year. And it will be implemented next year.
Sir, last question, sir. To cut government spending, is the DOF considering a shift to PPP, sir? Is it supporting a shift to PPP, sir? Public-private partnerships.
PPP.
In terms of infra development, sir.
We will push for PPP. Okay? Kaya naman hindi siya na-push nung time ni Duterte is that when we came in, I'm talking of President Duterte, walang available na mga projects na ready for implementation. Now we are able to develop some 88 or 89 major projects ready to go. Shovel ready na yan. So if there are some private sector interest, we will welcome that. No? And also because we recently approved yung tinatawag na Public Services Act, which means 100% control of foreigners of some industry like telco, tollways, shipping, etc. I think we encourage them to come in, okay, and maybe choose some of those projects or develop their own, and we will welcome the PPP arrangement, not only at the national level, but also at the local level. Kasi there are some local governments, some cities, who have the money to enter into this kind of arrangement. This will help us reduce the, rather enlarge yung tinatawag na fiscal space. So sa halip na 100% gagastos ng gobyerno, I think only a fraction of thereof will be spent by the government for projects that will benefit the Filipino people. Okay? Yes.
Sir, on power hike lang po, mayroon pong Supreme Court ruling allowing Meralco to implement a staggered power rate hike. Napag-usapan po ba ito during cabinet meeting or sa meeting ni PBBM with the economic team? Ano po kanya naging directives? What are the measures to be implemented by the government para naman po maibsan yung mga burden na hinaharap ngayon ng mga consumers?
Okay, I'll be frank with you. Wala ako sa cabinet meeting kahapon. Okay? So, absent ako. So, hindi ko alam kung hindi pinag-usapan yun. Hindi pinag-usapan yun.
How about, sir, sa economic team? Ano yung magiging plan
Hindi rin
nyo?
namin napag-usapan. But I think kailangan manggagaling ang dapat siguro sa Department of Energy. Unfortunately, wala pa kaming Secretary for Energy. Okay? So, hindi napag-usapan yan. Okay?
Okay, just to wrap up, Alexis Romero of Philstar.
Clarification
For
lang, Secretary.
Secretary.
No? Yung 6.5 to 7.5 growth, it's also for 2023?
For 2023, mas mataas pa, 6.5 to 8%.
Okay.
Mas ambisyoso kami kasi
Okay.
kasi maraming bagong reforma eh. I
Mas may
think
optimism.
we can so yung 6.5 to 7.5 this year, palagay ko medyo conservative pa nga yun eh. Remember, the first quarter is 13.2, no? Second quarter, I would think, will be even higher than the 13.2. Why? Because remember, nagkaroon tayo ng surge noong January 2002, eh, di ba? 2022 pala. Nagkaroon tayo ng surge sa COVID eh. So, 2 months lang yun, yung 13.2. So, mas malakas pa yung, I guess, no? As a former governor of the central bank, ang forecast ko mga around.
Sec, dahil nabanggit niyo na rin yung surge, no? Yung economic team ba, will they be adopting the same stance ng Duterte government na hindi na tayo mag-wide-reaching lockdowns?
I think
at
no
grabe
country
na-
now will, except maybe China, will go into general lockdowns. No? Talagang focused, more focused. And I think we have now graduated from being pandemic to endemic. We have to live with the virus. And kasi most of us are vaccinated anyway, right? Some of our even have boosters, no? Third and fourth booster.
So the economic team does not prefer yung
We don't.
general?
In fact, that is also key to the 100% opening of face-to-face opening of classes. No? The plan is it will start opening up by August, and then 100% by November.
Thank you, Sec.
Thank you so much, Secretary Jokno. Now we go back to Maricel Halili for
Pwede na
Secretary
ako,
Ang.
Okay, thanks.
Hi ma'am, magandang hapon po. Ma'am, first issue po yung tungkol sa proposal. A congressman filed the bill before the Congress seeking to change the name of Ninoy Aquino International Airport to Ferdinand E. Marcos International Airport. Ano po ang tingin ng Malacanang dito, ma'am?
Malacanang has no comment yet on this one. It's just been filed. After all, wala pang first reading. So any reaction would be premature, if any is even warranted at this time.
But ma'am, do you think this is a timely topic to discuss considering that, well, there's a lot of challenges that the administration is facing right now. Number one is the increase on prices of commodities. So is this a timely issues to be raised?
Well, this is not a bill filed by Malacanang, so it's not our place to indicate whether it is timely or not. It was the congressman who filed it. So, no comment for right now. Particularly, it's very early stages, really. It's just been filed.
Ma'am,
One
sorry.
more. Yes.
Other issue lang po, baka po may detalye na tayo dun sa meeting ni President Bongbong Marcos with DOH and PhilHealth officials this morning.
Wala pa po. Wala pa. We will probably be calling for a briefer as soon as we get that. So, get ready probably tomorrow, not sure, or we will be issuing a release for it.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Okay, one
ang,
more.
ang susunod naman pong magtatanong ay si Pia Gutierrez ng ABS-CBN.
Where's Miss Pia?
Hi, ma'am. Actually, tanong na yung mga questions ko. But could you please clarify po the appointment of Tercio Cruz III as FDCP chair, considering na meron pong previous release before that the appointment of Yusek Dino has been extended until 2025?
I think she would fall under MC1. So, Memorandum Circular number 1. And therefore, the appointment is correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Okay, no more questions? Thank you. Oh, okay, fine. One pahabol? Si
Sige, Ivan Mayrin.
ma'am, ay.
Ivan Mayrin.
After the lady.
Ba, so dalawa yung pahabol natin.
Vance Fernandez.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon. As the President has announced, the free rides for students in the LRT will continue forward. Has there been details announced on where the appropriate budget for sustaining the free ride operation for students will be drawn from? And how long will the free rides be maintained by the government for?
Well, this is a question for the DOTR. Let's allow them to make the announcement themselves. This was a proposal. It was made during the cabinet meeting. The president seems to, as he has announced, support it. So let's wait for the DOTR. All right? They'll make their presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Mabilis lang na tanong lang po, ano po ang tugon ng Pangulo sa imbitasyon ng European Union for the President to visit Brussels? Has it been formally acknowledged?
Not yet. It was not, in fact, discussed during the cabinet meeting. So we'll wait for that one. He did acknowledge the other invitations. If you will recall, we just haven't calendared the invitation of China. So we'll wait for that one. Wala pa talagang acknowledgement. It wasn't even discussed. We'll announce it as soon as it's formal. All right?
Salamat.
Thank you very much.
For
Oh.
last follow-up question. Nestor Corrales of Inquiry.
Tatlo
Good
na.
afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, there are over a dozen bills pending before the Office of the President for the President signing, particularly the vape bill. What's the plan of the President? Will vape bill,
Vape. All
the
right.
plan of the President on these bills, will he sign it or will he let it lapse into law?
The president has not indicated either way. So when you say that there are bills pending before the president, as you know, if no action is made, then it lapses into law. So there has been no indication. The president has not commented on these bills right now.
Magkakaroon po ng National Vaccination Day for school children, considering na may plano tayo mag face-to-face classes 100% sa November. Meron po bang planong gano'n?
The issue of vaccinations actually has been addressed during the cabinet meeting. It will be discussed formally later on. In fact, we have a release for tomorrow on that one. Yeah, and you're right, it is an essential part of returning to face-to-face classes. So we'll discuss this further when we're expecting the Department of Education to issue their department order pursuant to face-to-face classes, and an additional announcement also from the DOH on the vaccination program. Right?
Thank you.
Okay,
Ma'am, pahabol lang.
All right,
Pahabol
totoong-totoo
lang.
na. Wow, really? 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 Okay, ganito. Just as a matter of discipline, let's just take 2 more questions. All right? Madam.
Okay, last 2 questions from Rex Remicio and Pia Gutierrez.
All right.
Sec, this is related to defense, no? So, yung Republic Act 11709 sets fixed terms for top AFP positions for 3 to 4 years. Kasi dati, di ba, pag na-appoint, hanggang sa retirement. Pero this time, fixed term, 3 years na. So si President Marcos ba, will he continue to keep current AFP Chief General Andres Centino until he retires on February 2023?
This is a law, right? And it's been passed. So the president adheres to the law.
So siya pa rin ba until February 2023?
Whatever is stated in the law. So if his term has been during the time of the effectivity of the law, then the president will abide by that.
And last na, yung papalit sa kanya by February 2023, which will take the 3-year term, meron na bang list si President Marcos?
Oh, it's way too far right now. So really speculative at the moment. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I would just like to get your comment po dun sa naging tweet ni Senator Cheese Escudero regarding the President's veto of House Bill 7575. He questioned, he said that he is uncertain if the President can veto a bill passed by the previous Congress. Can Malacanang comment on this po?
The Constitution is very clear that they have no indication as to whether it's the sitting president or the former president who can sign a bill into law. So, since there is no distinction made in the Constitution, neither do we make such a distinction. So the president can veto. That is the stand.
Thank you.
All right? Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat. Malacanang Press Corps. Maraming salamat po, Secretary Trixie.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.